Hello again, welcome back to Asgard, and welcome back to Sprout. So since last episode, I finished putting in all the water. You can actually kind of see it up there. We'll go upstairs in just a moment. And I finished the conveyor belt. So basically, they run around the back, come into here, and then I've got conveyor belts here just to keep the slimes that are in this little chunk, this little section, all in that same section. Okay, and then this area here we're actually going to use for the slime drops. So we'll have like a very small area because I don't need, I don't need thousands of slime balls and slime pearls coming in every hour. There's really no point in it. We've got this little section, occasionally slimes will drop down, hit this section, and then we'll get some slime drops. Okay, and after a while, I mean, with the amount of slimes that this thing is going to be producing, like earlier, some of them have despawned, but earlier this place was packed. I kid you not, there had to have been at least 80 in here. Like, all stuck inside this little area here. So, quite a bit of slimes. Quite a bit of slime action there. Now, I will say a couple things I've noticed. Let's head on upstairs and I'll show you the water. So there's the water. It's just a solid section there, and it's one deep, just like we were doing last episode. A couple things to note. Sometimes the slimes will do that, where they kind of just float there on the water. Back off. I'm not wearing any armor right now because it's all repairing. It was kind of low. But what causes that is the slimes that spawn right there on that platform. If they step off, they can float. Now, eventually they will fall down. Like, eventually they'll just get lazy and then say, I don't want to swim anymore, and they'll just sink. But it does happen on occasion. It's not a huge deal. And then in addition, when little slimes, like the littlest version of the slime, jump off of like really high levels. So for example, like, up in, it's mainly on the top, like 3 sections that I've noticed it happening anyways. When they jump off, they will actually go through the water and still have enough momentum to kill them. Okay, but it only happens to the baby slimes. It does not seem to happen to the large slimes. So, not a major issue, not a big deal, not something I'm worried about, because when that slime dies, then another one tends to just respawn, somewhere else. And the big slimes are the key. The big slimes, the medium slimes, the small slimes, they're worth a bit of mana, comparative to other mana systems. However, the medium and the big slimes are worth massive amounts, especially the big slimes. That's the ones that literally almost fill up a Gnar slime. It's like when I was looking, I had to look up the numerical values, but it was like 7,300 and something mana. Like, it's just a massive amount. Like, we're talking this thing, hopefully it's going to be producing faster than Intrapenium setups and stuff that I've done in the past, like on Crackpack. Let me take off this ring of magnetization, tectonic girdle, all that stuff before we get started today. I had those off for a bit. I put them back on when I was doing some stuff because the slimes kept knocking me around. Which, I mean, I'd kill the slimes, but then another one would spawn, and I was doing some stuff with the chisel. It wasn't very common, but then they ended up knocking me off the edge, and I was wearing the tectonic girdle for that. But anyway, so today we are going to be picking back up where we left off. We are going to be working on our actual mana setup aspect of this. Okay? So we'll go ahead and get started, and I think the first thing that I want to do is I'm just going to grab a bunch of living rock. That should be good. And let's just make a bunch of mana pools. 12 is not going to be enough. Let's go with like... I mean, I don't know that I'll use... Well, I don't know. I'll eventually use them if I don't use them right now. So that'll be fine. There's 38 mana pools. Okay, that's what we're going to start with. And I guess first up... Yeah, I guess first up we're going to set up the mana collection system down there. So let's pop up here. And the flower that we're going to be going with is the Gnar Slimus. There's basically 4 flowers that we're going to need down there. That's 2 Gnar Slimuses and 2 Hopper Hawks. Okay, the Hopper Hawks are for, of course, item collection, because when the little slimes hit the ground, those conveyor belts, they'll actually drop slime balls, and those will get carried down the conveyor. So I want to pick those up, and then also slimes that land on our middle section. I want to get slime pearls and solidified experience and things like that from those slimes. So we're going to have, basically 2 Hopper Hawks covering each end of the setup. Be collecting those from that. So for Narslimus, we are going to need runes of water, runes of summer, black petals, green petals, lime petals, runes of water, and runes of summer. Oh, I actually have a spare hopper hawk here. Awesome. Let's see. Summer is earth and air. I have air runes. Okay, but I do not have summer runes. So, I tell you what, we've crafted enough flowers on camera before. I feel like you guys are comfortable with that. So give me just a minute. I'm going to craft these up real quick, and I will be back in a moment once that's done. I think I'm only going to need one craft of water, so that's good. So I'll be back in just a minute. Okay, so we got 2 floating Narslimus and 2 floating Hopperhawks now. I am going to go ahead and convert these over to living rock bricks. There's one spot in the slime farm that I'm going to want to change over to bricks, I think. I'm going to grab some glass because I am going to break a little bit of glass and I'll need to replace it. And I believe that's everything we need to get started with this anyways. There's a ton of stuff that needs to go into this. You know, like minecarts and spikes and all kinds of fun stuff. But this is the majority of what we're going to need to actually start the mana production. Oh yeah, and one more spreader, but I'll get that in a minute. So anyways, let's go ahead and break this stuff off. That is steel framed. Let me turn my glass over into steel framed. There we go. And what I want to do is I'm just going to break this stuff off. Here, for some reason, I see a slime. Oh, there's one. A lot of times whenever I'm off for a little while, sometimes they stop spawning, and then they'll pick back up, or they'll slow down spawning. Alright, and I'm just going to change that over. I'm going to go ahead and close that off a little bit. And then we'll do the same thing over here. We'll try to hurry before the slimes really start spawning. There we go. By the way, the magic spell on that sword is really useful, just for the record. Because it can actually hit multiple slimes, those like little slimes. And basically I just want to clean this up, close this up, because you'll be able to see the floor right here. And this is really the only place that you're going to be able to see the floor in this build. And then let's go ahead and put down our Narslimus. And I'm going to place this, basically the range is a 5x5. Okay, so I'm going to put it like right here. So basically it's going to cover these conveyor belts, up to those conveyor belts, and then this whole corner here. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and just kind of close that off for right now. And then over here we're going to put down our Narslimus. I should have put that down before. That's my fault. So it's going to go down right here. Okay, so our Narslimuses are down. Awesome. And then what we're going to do is let's set up our... I'll tell you what, let's focus on the mana first. Let's get our Gaia Mana Spreader. I'm going to need one more of these, by the way. So let me pop up... There's our other Gaia Spirit. Let me pop up and change over one of our... I'm not sure if I want to use one of our spreaders that we have right now. Yeah, I'll just pull off one of the ones that we have right now because... I mean, our current mana system... Everything's going to get changed over. Like, basically all the mana, transportation, all that stuff's going to get moved. And so for right now, I'm just going to steal this one. With the Phantom Resistance lens and all that. And actually, I slightly changed my mind on one aspect. We're going to put down a little bit more conveyor belts. I still have some left over from when we set up the, or when I was setting up the stuff, the current conveyor belts. But there is one more spot that I want to add conveyor belts to, because we don't need as big of a space as what I have. So we will change that over, but we'll get to that shortly. Okay, so Gaia Mana Spreader. There we go. And I tell you what, let's go ahead and get ourselves a couple potency lens while we're at it. Potency lens, what these do is they allow a mana spreader to send more mana at once. I don't believe we've used these in the series yet. So the spreader can send more mana, but the mana moves, it travels, let's see. It can't travel as far, or it travels slower, one or the other. It's not going to matter for our current setup, which all that's detailed in the Lexica Botania. But what we're going to need is mana lens and runes of fire. So let me go ahead and get those being crafted up, because I don't believe that I have any runes of fire. It does not look like it. And then we need gunpowder, nether brick, and nether wart, which I don't have here. Okay, let me pop inside. And there we go. 2 runes of fire. Whooped. And do I have... Okay, it looks like I don't have any glass panes up here left. Oh, wait, I'm going to need 2 of these. Oops. Okay, let me go get some more iron. Let me go get just a little bit more iron. Okay, so there we go. 2 mana lenses. And then we'll just go ahead and upgrade these. Mana lens for potency. Mana lens for potency. And basically, I want these because I want to be able to move as much mana as quickly as we possibly can out of our mana generation setup, you know, from the Gaia mana spreaders. That's why we did all that work to get the Gaia mana spreaders, is so that we could move mana quicker. The potency lens is going to increase that even more, so we'll be able to move a lot of mana very, very quickly out of the system. Because I'm only going to use 2 spreaders, 2 flowers to generate this mana. So I want it to move out quickly. Okay? So then what we're going to do is let's set up our first mana spreader. We'll have it like right... do I want to do it up here? I think I do. I think I want to put it like right here, and then the other one be like right here. And then what we'll do is we'll just bind our Narslimus to the spreader. And you can see it's actually filled up on mana now, because the Narslimus collected, like, look at that. This is the highest capacity spreader that there is, and it didn't even take all the mana that the Narslimus created. And the Narslimus can actually almost fill its entire inventory, like its entire buffer. It has a 8,000 mana buffer, and it can almost fill that off a single large slime. Okay? Which in turn is over a full mana spreader. Which is a lot of mana once these slimes start really spawning. Yeah, here comes a big one. And we'll go ahead and bind that. And I imagine that, yeah, that one's filled. Good. Okay. And we'll close that up. That's really the last time. Well, we're going to have to get in there for that part, but that can wait. Okay, so next up, let's go ahead and put our potency lenses on these. We'll go there. And we'll go there. And then what I want to do is just set up our mana pools. And we're going to have... Let's see. Let's find like the center-ish point. Where's my tape measure? And let's set it to block mode. By the way, if you're not familiar with the chisels and bits tape measure, if you hold Alt, you can change the mode and you can change the colors that it uses. Undo, redo, bit, distance, block. So if we go from here, whoops, I didn't mean to. You have to hold right click, so just a heads up. Over to here. That is 20 meters. And right in here is the center point. We'll have right back here be the docking station. So we're going to say like right here is the rail station. So then we'll come over 2 on each side and put down our mana pools. Okay? And then I can just take this, bind that to that mana pool. And by the way, here comes the slime. See it just insta-dies, right? And that slime just insta-dies. And then that was a large slime, so it's like a whole mana spreader's, or yeah, it's like over a whole mana spreader worth. And the slimes are starting to just come down these and start filling these up with mana. Okay, I mean, you could see already, just like in no time, that little fraction of mana is actually a decent amount of mana to generate in all of like 5 seconds. Okay? And just slimes just keep coming over. Now you'll notice the slimes, there is some slime balls there, but the slimes themselves don't actually drop anything when they're killed by the Narslimus. Okay, they only drop things, you know, when they're killed by some other method, but not the Narslimus. So that's why we're going to have a small section of this farm dedicated to item collection, and the rest will just all be mana. Just feed all this stuff into mana, and then just a little bit for items. Okay. So that part's done. Mana is being collected, it's being created, and all that good stuff. Now, the next thing that I want to do is let's pop upstairs. I'm going to go get some more conveyor belts. I'm going to grab the ones that we have made up already, and then I'm going to grab a few more, and then we'll get the actual item collection set up. We're also going to have to make some diamond spikes. I don't have a bunch of diamonds right now, but I have enough, I think, to make what we need, so... And I'll tell you what, one thing I want before we get started is I want just a couple gem chests. Supercharged gem chests. So I'm just going to use some of these like really dinky gems that we've got, like D ranks, and these D ranks. And all I want these chests for is just so I can set them up temporarily, have our chests collect the items that are picked up by the Hopper Hawk, and that way I can gauge what I need to, you know, basically to handle with our system. That's all I want it for. Black Diamond Onyx sounds good. And then eventually what we'll do is we'll plug it up to our, our Corporea network or something like that and have the items coming in and being sorted. But for right now, this will be great because I don't think these mobs are going to drop any of the leather items or anything like that. So I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue. And let's take a look at this. It's generated a bit of mana. It could be a little bit faster, but it seems like we're having a lot of little slime spawn, which, like I said, it's not as good of mana, and they can actually die, as you just saw right there. It is a thing, but once those slimes start really kicking on the spawns, we'll have a bunch of mana coming in. So our Hopper Hawks, if I was to put that right... Oh yeah, that's going to cover half of this. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. What if I put it like right here? Cool. Okay, that's great. That does cover the entire area, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the Hopper Hawks, then I'm going to put down this chest right here, and I'm going to put this chest down, say right here. Let me put a decoy mana pool up, basically one that doesn't have any mana, but these should bind to it. So we're going to put a Hopper Hawk here, and a Hopper Hawk here. And then we'll say you're bound to there, you're bound to there. And we'll go ahead and break that off. Aha! It does not cover the entire area. Okay, never mind. Let's move these things. Okay, if I did it like right here, it covers out to this point, which actually should be good, I think. And then if I did 2 out, 1, 2, put this Hopper Hawk right here. Okay, yeah. And that Hopper Hawk then covers out to here. So the whole area is covered, right? This entire section is all covered. And then what we'll do is we'll set up our chest. One goes right here. And then one right here. And it looks like the slimes up there, if you notice there's a lot of slimes on the mini-map, what happens is this slime farm sometimes takes a little while to get started. Because the slimes actually have to jump off. And sometimes it'll be a little bit slower than other times. It kind of depends on when the slimes decide they're ready to bounce off the edge and go to their death. More or less, so... but anyways, let's go ahead and pop into here. And like I said, these slimes will eventually fall down. It just takes them a little while. Okay, but with these conveyor belts that I made, we are going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let's bring them over each one more. Right to there. Okay, so these conveyor belts are basically just going to pull the slimes over if they land in this section. Come on, follow the bait. Whop. I love it. Oh man, another one. Okay. It's a whole lot easier dealing with the slimes now than it was before, I'll tell you that. And basically we'll just have all these conveyor belts. There's no reason for those lights anymore. All those conveyor belts just feed into this one section. And then all I have to do is just take these diamond spikes, set them down like that, because, the slimes can actually run into the diamond spike, still does damage, and that's it. The interior is done now, minus building up the walls a little bit more, but aside from that, any slimes that land on this middle section, they're going to get pushed into the spikes until they die, and then of course big slimes will then break down into medium slimes, which will then take damage until they die, and then little slimes will take damage until they die. And honestly, I mean, if one big slime falls in there and we get even mid-range lucky, we're probably going to get 10 slime balls, So I think really this small little section of the farm dedicated to item collection, I don't think we're ever going to have to worry about slime pearls, slime balls again. Okay? Really, I have enough slime balls and slime pearls at the moment that we probably never have to worry about them again either, but just for the sake of it. Because if I only rely on the little slimes falling and dropping the slime pearls, then what happens is I don't get any slime pearls, I just get slime balls. So that's why I'm adding that small section of that dedicated section. Man, this one's starting to get a bit. Oh, look at that mana. That's so good. And it can be faster. Like I said earlier, I came down here and there was literally like 80. I should have taken a picture, but I'll keep an eye. Well, now they'll all be dying. Okay, but anyways, that part's done. They're dying, they're getting harvested, they're making mana, all that good stuff. And you can see that's already jumped again up to there. This one gets a whole lot less action than that one, though. Okay, I actually forgot about one thing. That is, Hopper Hawks won't pick up stuff on conveyor belts. So, let's remove these conveyor belts, all of our items should then land on one side or the other, and the slimes will eventually hit those spikes. It's not, you know, it's not a major rush. I'm waiting for this guy to die. He's got like absolute ton of health. There we go. That slime ball was on the conveyor belt, so that's why that's still there, but there we go. Aha! Okay, so that works. Then it's picking up all the slime balls now, and we're also getting these heart drops. I'm going to have to deal with those, but that's fine. We'll do kind of like our other systems where we kind of filter those. Why do these not... I guess because these were placed and then it changed it? I don't know. Okay, but let me change over this then to living rock. So there we go. And hopefully, I mean, that's going to get at least most of the drops. So the next thing that we're going to need to do is actually work on the middle section as well as the final section. The actual mana battery itself, where all the mana is going to get stored from this setup. Okay. And bear in mind, I mean, if you look at the mini-map, when I was standing, yeah, right here. If you look at the mini-map, well, you can't see it here, but up there, there are mobs all over the place, right? All those different mobs. Basically, that's areas where I'm going to have to light up caverns. And I will say that we're going to get an easier way to do that in the semi-near future. We're just not far enough in other mods to do that just yet. But basically, the more I get lit up, because mobs can spawn in a 120 block radius around a player. And so basically I need to light up everything basically within a 120 block radius of anywhere, mainly this section here, but also I'm going to do a little bit farther out. That way nothing can spawn outside of our designated farms. The Blaze farm only ever has, you know, 3-4 mobs in at a time. So that's not going to mess with our entity count very much. So I'm going to, you know, I'm not going to worry about stopping that or anything like that. But, and kind of the same with our zombie farm. I don't know that I'm going to keep that the same way that it is right now. I may make some adjustments to that or move it or something. But, you know, I want everything to be in controlled spawns. And then once that's done, then more slimes are going to be spawning. So it's going to be faster mana. It's just kind of waiting on me to finish that out at the moment. But anyways, let's go ahead and work on basically the beginning and the end of our mana transfer system. And what we're going to be using to move our mana, which is actually very, very effective, is if we look under mana manipulation, and you guys may know what I'm going to do. If you've watched Quantus, you probably know what I'm going to do here. But we are going to work on, right here, mana on rails. We want mana pumps, okay? These are fairly cheap, mana steel buckets. I'm going to need 4 of these altogether, so let me get a few buckets together. Actually, I've got 3 buckets on me. I'm going to use that, and then we'll go with 1 more bucket here. And then we just need all the rest of this turned into mana steel. That. There is our mana pumps. And basically what these do is they will pump mana from a block, from like a mana pool or something like that, and put it into another block. And what we're going to do is we are going to set up, we'll have one right here. Let me actually change that. Let's see. I believe blue is input, red is output. Let me double check, but I believe that's correct. Yeah. Mana's pulled from the blue side, mana's output on the pink side. So we're just going to set it up right there, and then we're going to set up the other one right here. Okay? And then let's go ahead and get a mana pool. We'll set that right there, and another mana pool right here. So that way these can pump from this location and pump them into the mana pools on each side. Okay? And then the other 2 mana pumps we're going to set down on the, you know, the mana input. So we'll do 1 mana pump. Oops. We'll do 1 mana pump right there, and this is going to be inputting from this mana pool, and then 1 on this side. And let's take a look real quick. That's almost a 1/4 of the way filled already. Actually, has not been that long. This one is like super slow. I don't know, and no mobs want to land on this side for some reason. But that's fine. That's fine. And bear in mind, because I know this isn't as much mana as it will be, But bear in mind that this is probably only running at about a fourth or less efficiency, just due to the amount of area that I still have to get lit up so that mobs quit spawning there. So, and a fourth efficiency may be generous. Like, if, for example, if you set this up in a void world, it's crazy effective. It's crazy effective because this is actually the setup that I used in Garden of Glass when I played on there, and it generates a lot of mana. Alright, and the next thing that I want to do is I want to set up the actual mana transport system. And the first thing that we're going to need is we're going to need a couple mana carts. These are just mine carts plus mana pool. And mine carts, I don't craft vanilla mine carts enough to actually remember this recipe, just iron. Okay. So there we go, 2 mine carts, and then we'll throw in, where did my mana, there they are. We'll throw mana pools in each of these so we end up with mine cart with mana pool from Botania. And we got the World Domination How-To achievement. Whoops. Okay, and now we're going to have to start getting into rails a little bit. Exciting stuff. So, let me see. I believe we're going to have to go with... Don't just have... Oh, it's track, isn't it? Okay, yeah, we're going to have to go with the railcraft method. That's fine. Wooden ties, that's creosote. And slabs. And that makes... whew. Okay, that's going to be expensive. Not really expensive, but more time-consuming. But, I mean, this does make 32 tracks at a time, so it's not that bad. And then we're going to have to do the rolling machine. Bronze, Invar, steel. So, whoops, wrong machine. I want the manual rolling machine. We do that. And there we go. That's starting to run. And the thing about the manual rolling machine is, for example... It's crafting right now. If I close this out, it dumps all the stuff on the ground. Okay, that's the manual aspect of it. And so you have to keep this up while it's working. You can't automate it. Now there is, of course, there's a powered rolling machine that will work on its own, but this one is not that one. Now, in addition, I'm going to need some creosote, and this is actually really easy to get. All we're going to need is a bit of coal. I'm going to get 16 pieces. That's fine. Because if I recall, creosote stacks to 16 bottles, I think. I believe so. So, anyways, let's pop on upstairs. And all we're going to do is we're just going to smelt this coal up. Oops. Nope. Not my oak wood. We'll get that smelting. Making bottles of creosote oil for us. Oh, it's 2 per coal. Okay, that's actually not that bad, but I was thinking it was 1 per coal. And then let's get ourselves some slabs. And there we go, wooden ties, and then we'll just combine these together, get our wooden rail beds, and then we can get our tracks. Okay, so there's 2 stacks of tracks. That's going to be more than enough for what we're going to be doing today. Now next up, we are going to need a few things here. First up is booster tracks. Oh, you don't upgrade these. Whoops. Okay. Whoops. That's fine. That's fine. That's what we have these extra 16 creosote bottles for, I guess. That was my mistake. Anyways, so we've got some wooden rail beds, and I'm going to make some booster tracks. I think, honestly, I'm probably going to want 2 crafts of these, I think. We're going to need to do boosters, especially for the incline. We're going to have to do boosters a bit more often. I'm going to have to cook up some gold. That's okay. I'll do that. So I've got a little bit of gold cooked up. Let me go ahead and cook up another stack of gold. And let's get ourselves some of these booster tracks. I think... oh yeah, I'm going to have to do it in here. Let's go with like two crafts of that. For right now, I think that'll be good. There we go. Advanced rails, booster track. There we go. 32 of those. Now, in addition, I'm also going to want a detector track. Rail bed. I'll come back to that. We'll do the special tracks in a little bit, because we're going to get a little bit into some railcraft tracks. Really just one track in particular. And so we'll get into all of that in a moment. But first up, the first activator, or the first booster track that I want, is I want it to be right here. Okay, and then what we'll do is we'll just come out like that, and We'll have another booster track be right here. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to need a bit of cobblestone. I don't know if I have any on me. Yes, compressed cobblestone. Because we're going to have to make levers. Or torches. Any way of applying redstone signal is fine. I'm just going to use levers. It's like the cheapest way to go. And there we go. Because basically these booster tracks, I want them active all the time. So, and then we'll just have, I guess I'll do another booster like right here. And of course, if you're not familiar with boosters and all of that, basically what boosters do is they're going to speed up a cart that goes over it, right? So anytime a cart hits a booster track, it's going to speed up. Now the reason this one's here is because if a booster is touching a solid block, and let's say the cart travels up to here and then it stops at this living rock brick. Well, what that does then is when this receives a redstone signal then, it's going to boost it in the opposite direction. You know, because it knows that the cart can no longer travel in that direction. So basically it's just going to turn it around. And that's what we want up here. So anytime that this receives a redstone signal, it's going to say, okay, cart, you can go back down here. Okay? And that's very, very simple. Let's go ahead and bring these out. Now, if it's a flat terrain, like if it's an incline, you need to do a little bit more powered rails. I think with this small of an incline, we could do, I think this will be fine, like 2 blocks up. But I don't know. I don't know the exact math on boosters for you guys. I apologize, but I couldn't really find exact math. But we're just going to put a bunch of boosters in here and check it and see if it works. It's my plan. So we'll come out. We'll do, if it's flat, we'll do like 3 out and then a booster. We'll have plenty of boosters, I think, to get all the way. I believe so. And I'm going to go ahead and put a booster here because coming up an incline like that, it's going to be a little bit slowed down, to say the least. I'll put that there. All right. And then with this big of an incline, this is a very, very steep incline. Through here, I'm going to do a booster every other rail. I'm just going to go through here and go ahead and put down my boosters. And then I'll come back up through here and put down the levers. This way we keep a good speed all the way up. Resources really aren't an issue, so I'm not that worried about those. I can tell you I'm going to have to make more boosters, though. I can definitely tell you that. Now, I could also, there's a cart or a track from Railcraft that does a straight vertical climb that I could use here. You know, that's an option, but I'm going with the boosters and whatnot. So it's really just preference, I guess. Like, if you wanted to do a vertical climb, for me, I want both vertical and horizontal, so that's why I'm going with the slope. But I will say that we'll get into the vertical tracks and stuff. We'll get into that stuff with Railcraft a bit in the future, just not yet. Because if you recall, I mentioned that we're going to be getting into Railcraft quite a bit very, very soon. Also, as a side note, I'm not going to worry about sprucing this area up. You're not going to be able to see this. I'm going to do like basically like little train tunnels that lead into these areas. And it's not somewhere where you'll ever go, you know. So it's not a place that I'm going to worry about how it looks. It's going to be ugly stone forever. I do believe. I do believe so. Oh, you know what? I forgot booster tracks actually can't curve, can they? So I'll tell you what, I'm going to try the booster track right here instead. We'll do that. And then if we have issues, then I can adjust it or whatever. But honestly, I think it's going to be okay right there. Because it should still have fairly good momentum when it reaches the top of that climb. So I don't think it's going to be an issue. Let me go get some more booster tracks made. Probably, I'm going to say 2 more crafts. Oh yeah, 2 crafts was overkill. I could have got by with 1 craft, but that's okay. Oh, and I can't curve into an incline either. Whoops. Whoops, whoops, whoops. Okay, so what we'll do, it's been a while since I've done a lot with tracks, so I apologize for any derpage. What we'll do is we'll have, I guess we'll have the booster track come in like that. And it's actually got redstone power from that one. And then we'll just bring it around like that. And then into here. I think that'll be good. So there's our track. You know, it goes all the way up. Boosters are lit. Everything's good. And then up here, what we're going to do is, I think... Well, I'll tell you what. Let's go get... There's one other track that we're going to need. And this is where we start getting into a little bit of railcraft. Like this section up here, this is all done. Okay? The only thing special that we had to do is just have a powered rail here. We'll have to set up redstone and stuff once we get up here. But I'm going to focus on getting that section down there done first. But the special track that we're going to want from Railcraft is right here. The locking tracks. And I'm just going to go with probably an iron locking track. That'll be fine. Basically just a track, and then we're going to need a locking track kit. This requires a few things to make this. First up, stone pressure plate, track parts. That's just nuggets. You know, you can use 1 steel nugget, 2 iron, or 3 bronze. Planks, redstone, and a sticky piston. Okay, so first up, our track parts. These are going to have to be made in the manual rolling machine, just like that. I'm just going to do it out of iron, that's fine. They're not expensive. And honestly, I find the iron to be cheaper than the bronze myself. And then the piston. Let me actually just pull up the iron locking track. Piston. Get one of those. And we really only need one of these tracks, so there we go. And then we're just going to apply this to a track. And there we go. So we got our iron locking track. And I should have a crowbar around here, right? Or do I not? I do. Okay, iron crowbar. Perfect. That's like the main tool that you're going to use when messing with any kind of tracks in Railcraft is the crowbar. That's your wrench for Railcraft, more or less. And I think that's the main thing that I want at the moment. Oh no, wait, there's one other thing that I want. That is the detector track. So this requires standard rails. Alright, let me get a couple more pieces of stone. We're going to need a stone pressure plate. And then the detector track. Oh yeah, the bed. Let's see, let me go get some coal real quick. And actually, I think that's the last track that we're going to need. We've got plenty of booster tracks, plenty of standard tracks, so we should be all set after this. So, detector track, there we go. And we get 16 of them, which we're only going to be using 1 today. And basically what the detector track does is anytime that a cart passes over it, it puts out a redstone signal. That's all it does. Very, very simple. Alright, so now for the fun part. What we're going to do is we're going to take our iron locking track, and we're just going to put this down right here. Okay? And then what we'll do is we'll have, I guess we'll have track line that comes around here. I'm gonna have to do some cleanup work. You know, that's why I didn't change this wall. It's iron, so I didn't worry about changing it over because I knew we were gonna have to dig the wall back a little bit and stuff. It's no big deal. Okay, so what we'll do is we're gonna have our cart come out right here and then kind of curve around like that. And then we'll have a booster track here just for speed purposes, and put that there. And then carts that come around through here. Say another booster track right there. Lock that in. And then right here we'll have just a standard cart, or standard track that comes around. And then, I don't know, I guess a booster track right here, or whatever. And then just standard track. Okay, so basically carts that come down this hill, they're going to come around and they're going to come over to this locking track. And basically what the locking track does is when it does not have a redstone signal, it's going to stop any cart that passes over it and lock it in place immediately. Okay, so if a cart comes down here, it's moving super fast, it hits that, it stops right there. And then what's going to happen is the mana pumps can then pump mana into the mine cart with the mana pool. Okay, now anytime that you want to start a cart that's on one of these, we'll actually have to change it with the crowbar, which I'll show you that in just a second. But basically, if you give it a redstone signal, then it will start the cart, and we can specify the direction that it travels from that point. So now what we're going to have to do is just run some tracks over. We're going to do like a track here, and then just kind of run this back. It's the worst thing about being right up on bedrock like this. We'll do a booster track right here, and just have it fully powered all the time. And then what we'll do is we'll just have these tracks kind of, no, not right there. Let's see, the track comes off, or the cart comes off of there, it hits this booster, and it goes, we'll say to about right here. Let me put down another lever. Let me actually craft one real quick. So lever right there. And I might go through and change these. Not right now, but I might eventually go through and change these and put the levers on the bottom. We'll see. Probably will, honestly. But for demonstration's sake, I'm just going to leave it like this for right now. It's no big deal to come through and change it. It's just time consuming. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have our track come up and over like that. And so then, for example, if I was to put... Well, let me actually configure this locking track first. And what we can do is we can... Is it shift? Yeah, shift right click. And we can do train boarding mode. There's boarding mode. Train holding mode. You'll notice that the arrows change. I want boarding mode, right? Yeah, I want boarding mode. That's the one that I want. And basically what boarding mode does, depending on where the arrow's at, I'm going to have the arrow face off in this direction. So if a cart comes across this and it gets stopped by the locking track kit, you know, there's no redstone signal. Whenever that rail receives a redstone signal, what it's going to do is it's going to boost the cart, almost like a booster track would. It was going to boost the cart in the direction of that arrow. So even if, say, a cart came around this direction, stopped here, then if it got a redstone signal, it would then boost the track off in that direction, or the cart off in that direction. You know, so upstairs, instead of having a solid block, we could have used a lock tracking kit with the arrow pointed back towards the way we want it to go, and we wouldn't have to have it hit a solid block. It's just that method is actually cheaper, and it works perfectly for what we're setting up there. Okay? So that's basically what the locking track kit does. Or the boarding mode for the locking track. So, for example, if I was to pop down here real quick, I'll have to do a little bit of redstone work actually underneath this. But let me make one more lever just for an example, as well as a test, kind of. But if I put a lever right there, and I put, say, a mana cart, or yeah, mana cart with mana pull on there, you'll notice that it quickly pumps that mana cart full of mana. It's super fast. It's crazy fast. And can I look at the mana that's in that from here? No, I can't. Okay. But anyways, then if we were to give this block a redstone signal, there goes the cart. And if we watch it, it should go, no problem, up this slope. I'm trying to keep back so I don't push it just to make sure it gets there. But there we go. So now it's come up here and it's pumped all of its mana into these mana pools. And it's actually like super fast, so I really don't have to have it. Wow, look at that. It's like a fourth of a mana pool for each one now. It's like a half a mana pool. I can't wait till I get all the caves lit up. Oh my gosh, it's going to be so good. And so then what we could do is, let me set up one more lever for an example. If I was to apply a pulse then to this mana pool with mana cart, you'll notice that it shoots off down the thing, and there's no way I'm going to catch up to it. But if we head down there, I can actually blink through all the stuff. Well, it got lost somewhere. I'm not for sure where it got lost, but it got lost somewhere. Yeah, it came back up here because I left that lever on down there. Whoops. Okay, let me go down there and let me shut off that lever. Well, actually, I'll tell you what. I'm just going to leave this minecart there. Basically, what it did, it came all the way down here, and then it shot back up faster than I could get down there. And the reason being is because that lever was turned on, and so it's like, okay, well, I've still got a redstone signal, so I'm not even going to lock in place. And then it just shot back off around there. I guess technically I could not even have 2 mana carts here because it's so fast moving the mana. But we're going to do 2 mana carts. It's more interesting, I feel like, for railcraft purposes. What do we got here? Chain chest plate? Like, slimes wear armor? Slime pearls? Okay. Anywho, so what we're going to do is we're going to have, just say, right... Well, I need it. I'll tell you what. No booster track right there. Instead, we're going to trade that out for our detector track. Okay? So anytime that a mana cart goes over this detector track, it's going to send out a redstone signal. And so then all I'm going to do is our cart's going to come around, and I think it's going to have enough momentum that I'm not going to have to worry about speed right here. And we'll just put our detector track we'll just butt it up right against the locking track. So this gets hit, it applies a redstone signal, and that cart shoots off immediately. The next cart goes onto the locking track. And there we go. And that's that. Okay, so for example, if I was to put a minecart here, it's got mana. That's awesome. And then we were to pop upstairs, and I was to put a lever here and just apply a redstone signal to that, it's going to shoot off. And here in just a few seconds, we should see another cart come up here. And it probably won't even take that long. But if all goes well, another cart should come here and replace it and start basically sending its mana into these mana pools. There we go. Oh wait, what happened here? Oh, I bet it had the redstone signal. Okay, that's not going to work. Okay. That's too close. The other mana cart still got the redstone signal whenever it goes over. And that's what's causing that. So what we'll do then is we will, in fact... The worst thing is I have all this stuff right here. Can I tell you what I'm going to do? I'm just going to have redstone come over like this, hit that block, and I'll clean all this up, you know, off camera. But then I'm just going to have the redstone come down and travel underground here. It's not... There's a lot of ways I could do it, because there's like... Railcraft has like detector things. We'll get into all those a bit later on, but not right now. And this can be fixed with just really simple redstone like that. Okay. And all this is going to be hidden, so you're not going to be able to see this. Basically, it's going to have almost like little doorway ducts that are going to be open where the rail carts come out, where you can see them, and the rest of it will be kind of hidden away. But now, for example, if I put a lever down, there we go. It activates the locking track kit. Okay, and that should be far enough back that... you know, it's not going to send the cart right back up on us. So let's pop up there and let's see make sure that it works. And I'm not even going to try to chase them because there's no way I'll make it down there. But what should happen is one should get locked and then the other one goes through, I think. With them being right neck and neck like that, it may not work as intended right now. But here comes one of them. Meow. There he is, and he actually got a little bit of mana. Oh, whoops. Well, anyways, we should see another one come around here in just a moment. Because that one basically just went right back through because I still had the lever here. And there we go. There comes the cart. Awesome. So now we're just getting one cart. The other one's down there getting mana, you know, just hanging out. And, I mean, like I said, technically I could do this with just a single cart. That's not a problem. But what we're going to do is we're going to set up then just a hovering hourglass, I guess. Yeah, we'll just do a hovering hourglass. So let me go get one of those crafted, and I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, so all we have to do now to finish this whole setup up is we're just going to put a hovering hourglass just right here, and I'm going to put 2 pieces of soul sand in it. Okay, so after 2 minutes, it's going to send out a redstone signal and send the minecart back, and the next one's going to come up. Now, technically, like I said, you could do this with a single minecart. That's, you know, that's not a problem. In Qantas, I actually had it set up with a single minecart, but it was a very short distance that it traveled. It was like 5 blocks or something. It basically just sent the mana through a wall using a spectral rail, which we will get into spectral rails in the future. Can't remember where they're at in here. But basically, a spectral rail, it's a botania rail, and when a minecart passes over it, it can travel through solid blocks for a short distance. Okay, which we might use some in this build whenever I go to clean it up, but I doubt it, honestly. I think how I've got it set up right now, I think I'm happy with it. Now, technically, if you didn't want to see this mana cart, you could drop it down to the floor or whatever if you wanted to. But I actually like to see it kind of come up and stuff. I will clean up this little cavern a little bit, so if you're looking down, I'll probably fence it in, honestly. And then I'll clean this up so it's like living rock brick down in there and stuff like that. But I got to do a bunch of that cleanup work, and I'm going to do that off camera. And I decided to wait on this. It's about to activate. Pow. Oh, it didn't work. Okay, my bad. I'll tell you what. Instead, then, that's fine. I wasn't sure if it would activate with it being above there, but it's easy to fix. What we'll do is then, instead, we're just going to put our hovering hourglass right here. Our soul sand right there, and then we'll just do a piece of redstone right there, and then we'll just cover this back up. So we won't even be able to see the hovering hourglass. I could actually remove this block and put the hovering hourglass right there, but I want this to all be even and all that, so I'm gonna do it like that. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into the mana battery while we're waiting for that to take off. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to have the mana from these mana pools sent over to basically like a grand mana storage. Alright. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to have our mana storage be like right here. And I'm thinking we'll do, let's do, say, to start with, maybe 12, 16 mana pools to start with. We're going to go 20 mana pools. 20 mana pools of storage on this mana battery, and I can add more later on if I want to add more, but we're going to start with 20. I think that's a good enough number, and then we'll see how it works and everything. And what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to get into sparks. Now, I know the episode's getting close to wrapping up point. It may actually be wrapping up point. I haven't edited down the footage just yet, but if it is, I'll just split it into like a part 1, and then we'll have like a short part 2 after that, because it is kind of a bigger setup and a lot of new stuff that we're covering. But we are going to be using sparks and spark augmentation for this. Tell you what, I was actually just thinking I may need to do a repeater set to 4 ticks. I'm not for sure if I was in the way and I stopped this mana cart just a second ago, or if 1 tick, it's possible that 1 tick's just not long enough for it to get off there. So I mean, if it's not long enough, then we can just put a repeater down. It's not a problem. Okay, yeah. 1 tick is not long enough. It's not long enough. So let's make a repeater just really, really quick. There's our repeater. And then all we have to do is just set the repeater up right here. And then we'll do right there. And then we'll just set it to 4 ticks. Okay, so now whenever it goes off, it's going to be on long enough that it's going to send this mana card on its way. And it's just about to go off. There we go. Okay, so that works. So we did need the repeater, not a big deal. Just the one quick tick from the hourglass just isn't enough to send it off. So that's fine. Okay, so let's go ahead and start getting into sparks. And basically I'm going to need, for starters, I'm going to need a bunch of sparks. Okay, blaze powder, gold nuggets, and petals. Let me go pop over here. Let me get some blaze rods. I imagine we have enough built up now. Let me actually dump some of this stuff out. Yeah, we're already back up to 5 stacks. That's crazy. I'm just going to grab like a stack of them. I'm not going to need that many, but I'm going to grab a stack of them. By the way, I have the chicken stuff shut off right now because it causes issues when I'm loading in to the game. So I went ahead and shut it off for the time being, and then I don't really need chicken right now. I have like over 2,000 chicken. So basically a lot of times whenever I go to start up the pack, it'll crash like 4 or 5 times before I'm able to get into the pack. Alright, let's go ahead and get ourselves... oh yeah, I need to change these over to blaze powder. So let's go ahead and get ourselves 26 sparks. That sounds good, because that's going to cover all of our mana pools for right now. I don't know for sure that we'll get into Master Sparks today, because I know the episode's probably running about wrapping up point. Once we finish this part, I'll check and see where we're at. But we're going to have to start getting into Spark Augmentation. Now, there's 4 different Spark Augments. There's Dispersive, there's Dominant, Recessive, and Isolated. And basically for our mana battery, we're going to be covering mainly the Recessive and the Dominant. Now, in the future, we'll get into Isolated, we'll get into Dispersive, we'll get into those a bit more. But basically, the dominant one, which we may not even get into this episode, I'm not for sure. Dominant sparks are going to pull mana from any standard sparks or recessive sparks. Okay, so if you have a spark like this one, dominants are going to pull mana from those. However, dominant sparks are not going to send mana to standard sparks or recessive sparks. Okay, it's basically a priority system. Okay, and then you have recessive sparks, which basically they're going to send their mana to anybody who will have it, and they're not going to take mana from anything. Okay, so a recessive spark, for example, if I had, say, standard sparks, then as soon as a recessive spark mana pool gets any mana, it's going to just dump all of its mana to any available spark that's not a recessive spark. Any, you know, pretty much any of them, aside from isolated. That one's a little bit different, but it's going to send its mana to like anything that it can get its hands on, basically. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off by crafting ourselves 2 recessive spark augments. Now these require runes of earth, pixie dust, and mana steel. And I should actually have 2 runes of earth if I recall correctly. There we go. And recessive spark augments. Dun-dun-dun. And we'll just pop on down here. And then what we're going to do is we are going to set sparks on each of these mana pools. All 20 of these mana pools are going to have sparks on them. Just like that. And then... Uh-oh, what happened here? I have to keep an eye on this. This may be... Yep, go down the hill. Go down the hill. There you go. I don't know, it might be that redstone's still staying active when it's not supposed to. I don't know, we'll give it a second. We'll see a mana cart come up in just a moment, so... But anyways, we've got our 20 sparks. I think I got sparks on all of these, right? Yes, we got sparks on all of these. Okay, yeah, that time we just got 1 cart. I don't know, I'm going to have to keep an eye on it, because if it locks up... I mean, granted, when this gets a redstone signal, it's going to send the carts down. So it's going to end up balancing itself out after 2 minutes, but... because this cart will push that other cart down. So it's not a major problem, maybe, but... it could be a pain if it does that. I want it to work just right, so... but anyways, then what we're going to do is we're going to put a spark on each of these 2 mana pools. Okay? Now you'll notice, I mean, they're not sending any mana. They're sitting on their mana because priority system says this is a standard spark. Anyways, priority system says this is a standard spark. These are standard sparks, so, you know, don't send your mana over to these because they're equal priority. But as soon as I put a recessive augment on this, for example, you'll notice it starts shooting all of its mana to each of these mana pools. And it's going to send it out equally to each mana pool that it has access to. Okay? Then I pop a recessive spark onto this one, just right click, and there we go. Looks like it's holding on to like a sliver of mana right now, which isn't really... Oh yeah, this one is too. It may not be enough that it cares to send it. It's no big deal. But anyways, you'll notice that each of these mana pools now have a fraction of mana, and it's about equal across all the mana pools. Okay? And you can also see there's like a little symbol there floating around the spark, and that's basically the recessive spark. If you look at the recessive spark, there's a little symbol there, and you can see that's the same symbol that's on the spark. Okay, and that just tells you this is a recessive spark. And I mean, that's pretty much the mana battery. Okay? Now, right now we're not pulling any mana out of the mana battery, but as far as storing up the mana, that's all there is to it. Very, very simple, and very, very simple to do. Okay, but I was just looking at the time on the video, and it is about wrapping up point right now. Actually came out to be good timing. Next episode, we will get into the dominant sparks a little bit and stuff, and start covering those. And I'm also, between episodes, I'm going to try to light some more caves up, and we'll probably do something next episode to kind of simplify that a little bit. By the way, one change I did make, I moved the detector track back to here, and then just ran redstone over with a repeater, and then over onto there, and now it works perfect. Okay? Because basically when it was this close, it was, sometimes the redstone was staying, because the redstone was like, I don't know, it had like a super delay when it came to shutting that redstone off. But now you'll notice the redstone shuts off when it gets to about right here, and even if there's like, you know, a millisecond of lag or something, it's still gonna stop on this track. So everything's working perfectly now, and all is well. All is well. But you will notice, I mean, there's not a whole lot of slime spawning right now. If you look at the mini-map, there's mobs that have spawned all over the place. So I can either teleport away and let those mobs despawn, or go hunt them down. That's why I need to get everything lit up, because right now there comes a point where this kind of locks up. So also next episode, I'm going to let this run for a little bit longer. Honestly, I'm thinking that we're only going to filter slime balls and slime pearls from this, because all this armor and stuff, I mean, this is all just junk at this point. I've got armor. I'm up to my neck in armor, you know, otherwise known as a chest piece. But anyways, I've got tons of armor, and so we'll probably just filter just a little bit of it, and I'm actually probably going to decrease the size of this slightly. because I'm having a lot of slimes hit this. Like, as you can tell, a lot of slimes are jumping down on this area. So I'm probably going to decrease the size of that slightly, just so we have a few less slimes spawning in that area. Because, I mean, I could trim this off maybe 2-3 blocks, and I think we'd still have enough slimes and slime pearls, slime balls and stuff like that coming in. I should think so. So, I don't know. I'm going to play around with it, and we'll see. But next episode, we'll wrap it up. It's not a whole lot of stuff that we have to do. Honestly, the only thing we have to do here is set up the storage, and that's it for the farm. And then up here, I'd like to get into dominant sparks and actually start working on the mana transfer system. I will say that I'm not going to start the subway next episode. That's because I have to get building on that, and it's going to take a little while. So hopefully maybe after the weekend, we'll start working on some of the subway stuff and maybe getting that in place and set up the sand town and some stuff like that. So next episode will be basically tying up some loose ends, wrapping up that system, and probably redoing the mana system, you know, moving the portal and, you know, little things like that. So, and Terra Steel is going to be fun with this system. So, and we'll try to get some of those caves lit up and everything, because right now, I mean, I'm getting a fair amount of mana from this, because, I mean, all these pools have, you know, that much. So we've got probably close to a full mana pool. It's not nearly as fast as it could be, because right now it's all locked up, like I showed you, but anyways, we'll get into that a bit more. I mean, it's, like I said, it's a big undertaking. It's a massive undertaking. I will say it's a whole lot easier to set up if you're in a void world. So, just a heads up. But anyways, with that, I am going to end out the episode here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you did, as always, be sure and hit that like button. And go ahead and subscribe if you're not already, to stay up to date with when new videos come out. And I'd never put on my armor this whole episode. It's still in the thing up here. Totally forgot about it. But anyways, I hope to see you guys next time. Until then, as always, do take care, stay safe, and I will see you guys then.